there is and should be a place for smaller exporters to exist so that they can really focus in on things that are a little bit more out of the ordinary, things that are a little bit more special, and can work with smaller producers in more remote areas. Hello and welcome to Beyond Hospitality. We are your hosts.
I'm Becca.
And Jay. And today we're going to be speaking about our top lectures at the upcoming SCA Expo in Chicago on
April 12th through the 14th. I'm super excited. I'm always happy to hear about the Expo and what's going on there. But today we're focusing on our top lectures or panels, discussions that are happening at the Expo in Chicago. And there's quite a list, actually. There's 50?
Oh, almost, I believe, over 50. But
over 50, okay.
We're going to be selecting our top 3 from each of us. And I think we'll have a extra bonus one.
Maybe honorable mentions.
Yes.
And then feel free to, in the comments, tell us which ones you're looking forward to seeing. Or if you do go and see them, let us know. Was it up to your expectations or not? Or what lectures you were hoping to see? Not that we have access to SCA to give them that feedback, but we never know who's watching.
And if you do end up attending the SCA Expo and attend any of these panels or other ones, feel free to give us feedback about which ones you enjoyed and if we pointed you in the right direction or not.
Yeah, exactly. Who's going to go first?
I'll let you start out.
Okay. Rochambeau another day.
Ladies first.
Thanks. So my first one, and this one's kind of a personal one for me, and so you can disregard, but I think it's going to be a great lecture, actually, is going to be the cold brew's value using SVA, the coffee value assessment that SCA has to assess cold brew, which I think is really important. I'm a big fan of cold brew. I mean, I love specialty coffee. I love specialty coffee cold brew. When you've had, again, just like a really good espresso, when you've had a really good coffee, you just can't forget it. And you're always kind of seeking that out. So I personally make a lot of home cold brew. I've also made a little bit of OG. I'm working on that. I'll share more of that on another podcast. But this lecture is really exciting to me. It's on Friday, April 12th. 1 p.m. Sorry, I'm reading off the notes, but 1 p.m. to 2. And I'm actually really excited for this discussion because this is going to be with Julia Leach, which is one of the heads at Toddy, LLC.
I believe she's the president of Toddy, actually.
Okay. I didn't want to I couldn't quite remember. But again, this discussion, I think, is really important because I think as different coffee shops, especially smaller businesses and the training and everything, we can really spend a lot of focus on dialing in those pour overs, dialing in those espressos, but not necessarily the cold brew. But also, how do we really assess those that cold brew? So, and I'll lead just into my next topic of the next one with the fact of the SCA CVA, Coffee Value Assessment Protocols. I think that we can do more collectively as a community to really step up that cold brew game, especially with summer coming around the corner. I'm going to be drinking a lot of cold brew.
It's going to be cold coffee season, which is going to mean a lot more nicer weather in a lot of parts of the country. And honestly, who doesn't love a nice iced coffee or cold brew?
I mean, to poo-poo the idea of cold brew and specialty coffee, I think it's ridiculous. It should be just a great addition to your menu. It should be a great, part of your program. And again, you want to kind of step up the game a little on that because people will be judging on those cold brews and they'll decide if they come back or not, if it's tasting good.
We've all had a poor cold brew that tasted a little muddy, and we've all, I think, have had that really transcendental cold brew that just hit the spot, but also kind of elevated our appreciation for it.
Yeah,
so,
and I really am excited to hear Julia's point on this because the fact that Toddy is such a well-established company that's been working on developing cold brew in, the U.S., but probably the world. It's impacting the world, as much as it can, and I think that's great. But I think there's more progress that we can do. So super excited about that one.
Yeah.
So Jay, what's your first pick of the lectures at the Expo this year?
Good question. So my first pick that I'm really would be looking forward to attending would be the Filling the Small Exporter Gap lecture with Drew Burnett and also with Janine, pardon my pronunciation, but Nyanzima Aroyan, who is the owner of J&P Coffee, a really amazing operation out of Africa that personally I've had some experience with some of their coffees, and I think that they're doing some amazing work there with the communities. Also would be interested to hear from Drew, who's the director of Godal Indonesia, another great outfit doing some wonderful work. But I think a lot of the lecture is on the topics of can small exporters survive specialty coffee alone? Can specialty coffee survive without small exporters? I think they're considered crucial to the coffee trade and perform critical functions that allow specialty coffee to exist. I think that there is a large reliance on some of the larger importer-exporter outfits, both on the national level in some nations, as well as more local to the United States. But I feel that some of those, they specialize or focus more not necessarily the commodity grade coffees, but the more commodified specialty coffees. Things are going to go into blends, things that are going to be your bread and butter single origin coffees at most shops. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I do believe that there is and should be a place for smaller exporters to exist so that they can really focus in on things that are a little bit more out of the ordinary, things that are a little bit more special, and can work with smaller producers in more remote areas. I also know of another shout out would be Long Meadows Coffee, that is husband and wife team, I believe, that is doing some also amazing work in Africa. And to shout out some producers in Latin America, I know that I believe her name was Ida Battle or Batile, is a producer there that I know a lot of smaller exporters will work with, and she has even exported some of her own coffee, if I'm correct. And just excited to hear what these folks have to say, and honestly, where their part in the industry is. So really kind of excited for that, Becca.
Interesting. And so just to notify, it's on Saturday, on the 13th, from 10:15 a.m. to 11:15.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get on the floor, get a couple samples of coffee before you go. That actually is a really interesting. You brought up some good points about this topic, filling in the gap, and especially with specialty coffee. I think that was definitely something they've had to deal with earlier on in the industry, but it just gives more opportunity. And the opportunity to be a little bit more experimental. So
we all have our favorite, larger coffee chains, I'm sure. Yeah. But we also, I think, have our favorite smaller mom and pop operations that have perhaps an intimate touch, more personable. And I think that is a good example of where the market could be.
Nice. Yeah, operational discussion for specialty coffee.
Perfect. So, Becca, what is your next lecture that you're really looking forward to?
So, my next lecture is actually on the second day, on Saturday, the 13th, at 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. And that's, as I mentioned before, the cold brew with the SCA's coffee value assessment. This specific lecture is on that assessment, understanding quality, and the SCA's coffee value assessment. Now, this is, I think, really key to because of the fact that in 2023, last year, Specialty Coffee Association had proposed basically an update on this form that, cuppers, coffee buyers, producers, traders, everybody across the board in specialty coffee has been using this form since 2004, I believe is when it was created. So having an update 10 years later, I think that's really key, especially in these past 10 years have been very active for the specialty coffee industry. A lot has happened.
And with a huge expansion to the industry as well over the last 5.
Yeah, and exactly. And I just think that I mean, I think your training was similar to mine when we got into specialty coffee. It was all about this assessment. This is kind of how you wrapped your brain around what you were tasting, and how you were gauging that quality, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think just as a industry expo, everybody's together. This is a great opportunity to get together and just kind of level up, keep that standard and that quality continuing for the next 10 years or more, or less, as if we have to evaluate this more frequently. In fact, I was actually kind of surprised that it's been 10 years
10
since
years, yeah.
2004 since this form was uh, offered. But the lecture, I don't have the details on who's talking about this yet. I'm assuming it's going to be from somebody from the SCA panel, but I just, at this point in time in recording, it's not published yet. But I do think it's going to be a valuable lecture that I think everybody across operations and the business side of specialty coffee would find insightful. So that's my second pick.
That's a very interesting lecture here. I think that with the, as I mentioned, expansion of the industry over the last several years, this has been an amazing tool to help really standardize the language and quality control that is used across the industry, especially when you factor in the C market that's been going on. And quite frankly, it seems like a very interesting talk.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious of how, and I haven't done a lot of the research of what exactly has been updated on the forum. Maybe we'll have to do another podcast on that. I hope to. But at this point in time, I'm really excited to hear somebody talk about it and kind of give us that update. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Yeah, looking forward to it.
All right, Jay, what's your second pick for the expo this year?
So my second pick for panel or lecture that I think some people might find some interest in is specialty coffee through the lens of the wine industry. I believe it's described as an exploration of the intersection of specialty coffee and the wine industry. And be interesting to gain some insights into the parallels of craftsmanship, terroir, influence, flavor profiling, and to learn from the wine industry's commercial successes. I believe in the past several years, there have been a lot more experimentations on the processing level with coffee that have been borrowing quite a bit from the wine industry, whether those be co-fermentations, carbonic maceration, the list goes on. But it is a fascinating element of the industry where we're really starting to borrow some of the techniques from the wine industry to start to affect the flavor of the coffee, but also processing methods as well. Additionally, I think that a lot can be learned from the wine industry's pivot and changes to its sustainability practices and how it has been marketing itself in the industry. I think it is a given at this point that you can go into your local grocer and find a cheap bottle of wine, but if you want to, you can go to a local wine shop and spend quite a bit of money on a more rarer bottle. And I believe that something along those lines can be learned by the coffee industry and more of an acceptance from the guest level for those more expensive cups. I know that a lot of people just want a basic black cup of coffee or their cup of joe, but I don't think that excludes the existence of an $8 cup of coffee, even a $16 cup of coffee, something that is rare, special, unique. I think that there should be a place at the table for everything and everyone. So this is something that really fascinates me, and I think a lot of you would find very interesting.
Yeah.
What about you, Becca?
I think that makes sense. I actually am really interested about this one as well, because I think there is that the wine industry, nobody can argue, is just like thriving, and it has been for hundreds of years. But also there's a lot that we can learn from it in the eyes of specialty coffee, in the business aspect of it, the operational side of it, the development of it. And so, I think that the wine industry does have a lot of good advice and opportunities to share their knowledge on how to make this industry thrive, because that's the point too. Like the wine industry is thriving, and it's not going away anywhere anytime soon. So for specialty coffee people who are working in this business, we could learn something from them. So
I think so.
yeah, it'll be interesting.
I look forward to it. So, Becca, all that to say, what is your number 3 pick for lecture?
My number 3 is a little off my normal beaten path. I think as you'll get to know Jay and I a little bit more, he's more of the operational side. I'm more of the small business aspect of it. But one topic I am actually excited to listen to this year, I think is unique, is the Exploring Quality-Focused Robusta, a conversation with producers and roasters. And at this time of recording, there isn't a instructor designated to this topic, but I can only assume that we're going to have somebody really entertaining to get into the discussion about Robusta. And I think in the most recent years, we're starting to hear a little bit more about, and we're hearing the word Robusta in specialty coffee. I think as I was kind of brought into the industry, like my first knee-jerk reaction to Robusta is ew, or commodity coffee, or
of course.
But we're starting to see it sprinkle into specialty coffee. That's not because we're lowering our standards, but it's because of those developers, and the people are really investing a lot of time and effort to bring up the quality of Robusta. And I think that's exciting. Win or fail, like I love the fact that they're striving to improve. I think that's all we could ever really do in life. But with Robusta, I'm excited for that. And we're going to have a discussion on it, kind of how it impacts the chain. They're even going to be having some opportunities to taste the Robusta. And I think that's exciting. I honestly, I welcome it.
Myself as well. I've gotten a few opportunities to actually taste some more fine Robusta coffees. And while they do have, as to your point, a very different flavor profile than your typical Arabica beans, I do think they have their own unique intrinsic flavor properties, and they can be just as special as a nice Arabica. And with the impending climate issues, I think that it's important for all of us to start to explore more avenues for coffee production, and along that line, new species, Robusta, even Liberica coffees as well, can be very interesting. But this talk seems very interesting, Becca.
Yeah, I think it is. I think there is room for Robusta in specialty coffee, no doubt about it. I do recall seeing initial people's reactions to it being very negative, and I think it's just, it's time. The sky's the limit. Let's see what we can play with. Let's if we can mess with DNA and stuff like that, we can make a better Robusta coffee. So I'm excited, and you're right. It's going to bring stuff to the table that Arabica cannot, and that might be, it might exceed. Who knows? And so I'm super excited about it. This lecture is going to be Sunday, April 14th, 11:30 to 12:30. So you can get a nice little taste of the coffee before lunch, get a little bit of jitters.
I recommend that. It's a good way to have a nice little boost in the middle of your day.
A little Robusta in your day.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was bad. But yeah, I think that'll be an interesting topic. And I think, it's not just the operational side of it. It could have a big impact on the small business coffee cafe industry. So I'm super excited to hear what they have to say and what their future goals are.
Absolutely.
So Jay, your third topic, final, maybe the best, I don't know.
Well, I know that it has trickled its way into cafes nationwide, and personally, I think that it's a delicious beverage. While it is not exactly coffee, would be excited to attend the In Search of the Ultimate Matcha talk. It's going to be a discussion with Ijiro Sukada of Kuzen Matcha that he founded back in 2020, so pretty recently actually.
Okay.
But he will be providing some premium matcha to the global at-home consumer as well as cafe level, and supporting Japanese tea farmers who have committed to growing high-quality organic tea. And his approach is really inspiring for myself and for consumers at large who want to drink freshly ground matcha. I know that coffee is at its most delicious when it is freshly ground, so why not matcha? And I know that for myself, and I think a lot of folks have gone to a grocery store, gone to a store, bought a can of matcha off the shelf, and brought it home, tried to do something with it, and not really understood, like, well, what's the hype in this? Where's the value in this? It's not what I expected, or it's not as good as my local coffee shop has to offer either. And I think that gets down to just freshness, honestly. We've all seen those little cans that are packed with gas and they pop open. But I think that, for myself, being a kind of a long-term matcha drinker, I believe that fresh is best. And to have someone that is really committed to providing a really high-quality product, as well as working with some smaller producers and that are committed to high quality and organic matcha production in Japan, is just really fantastic. And I would be very excited to get to attend this panel, and I hope all of you are as well. I know that some coffee folks might be a little perhaps snobbish about having matcha show up in their coffee shops or their local places, but it's a delicious beverage, and it offers a unique, some variety to folks that may want something a little bit different later in the day, may want something just a little out of the norm. I know with the popularity of boba starting to increase, that we're only going to see more and more of delicious tea beverages in our coffee shops, and I think that's something that we should welcome.
Yeah, I think it should be welcome too. I'm certainly not a matcha drinker, but I think it's a great companion to coffee, for coffee alternatives in the cafe. And if you're serving and you're investing in high quality coffee, specialty coffee, you should certainly be taking a look, at least a second look at your quality and offerings of matcha, because it's here to stay. And I think it's a great, like I said, a great companion.
When is this one going to be taking place, Becca?
This one is actually going to be on Sunday. So that's Sunday, things tend to slow down a little, but Sunday, April 14th, 11:30 to 12:30. So that put that on your calendar if you can go check it out. I think it'll be pretty good.
Agreed. All right, so Becca, let's highlight an honorable mention here, something that really stood out to the both of us and that we'd love to put a spotlight on.
Yeah, I think this one I picked because it's a little bit more on the small business aspect of specialty coffee. If you own a cafe, you want to get the word out there that you're there, you're open, you're
Absolutely
ready to make a coffee. But how do you do that? And I think that this lecture could be quite interesting for you. It's called Building Your Brand for Free and with Earned Media. So, we hear a lot of people talking about, if I could just go viral or whatever, all my problems would be saved, I'd be a billionaire. That's not necessarily the case. And the odds on that are pretty,
iffy at best.
Iffy at best. And you're going to be spending a lot of time and money chasing that dream, when you can be doing strategies that can really help just get the word out there to your locals, to the people that are looking for a good cup of coffee and are looking for your location. So Rena Aurora Sanchez is the speaker on this, is the instructor on this lecture. It's happening Friday, April 12th, sorry. She's going to be focusing on really how do you connect with media people to get the word out there. And I'm saying, skip the advertising, don't spend a lot of money in the advertising. There's tricks and tips that you can do to get the word out there using media making connections, getting involved in social media,
local community events.
Local community events. Bloggers are great, and yeah, there's that potential that something could go viral, but more or less, there's things that you can do without chasing that viral dream that can help promote your business and your coffee and or products. So I'm super excited about Rena's lecture on building your brand for free.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, who doesn't love free?
I know I do. I think Rena is a journalist turned global communication strategist.
Yeah.
And
so she's been doing this for a while.
Has been doing it for a while, and that she's also started her own business around this field. So I think she has a lot of really good insights into just how to build your brand through media and how to really market and advertise yourself.
So that is my honorable mention. Now, there are a lot of lectures that we did get to talk about, and I'm not saying that any of them are less or better or whatever, but these were just ones that the two of us picked out that, having that opportunity to be at the expo and to sit down and hear these discussions live, that's kind of exciting. So we'll have all that information. It's all coming off of the SCA Expo website, so you can check that out if you want more details, or if you want to check out the list. Go there as well, obviously. If you're going to the expo, have a great time and enjoy, and leave a comment and let us know what you're doing there, what you're enjoying, and have fun.
Yeah. And I believe a lot of these lectures will also be available on YouTube or other streaming platforms after the event. So if you're not able to attend or miss one that you kind of wanted to see, I highly recommend you can go catch up on it there.
Yeah.
Liz, thank you so much for tuning in today, and we hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and hope that if you are planning on attending the SCA Expo in Chicago this year, that you have an amazing time there and that you learn something. So take care, folks.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.